Hello everybody, we are doing more videos on the AMI today, and as you'll notice, the AMI is still in a million pieces, and that is because it's not finished. However, it's a lot closer. There is things that still need to be done, which I kind of knew about, but kind of just ignored and just assumed it'd be all right. We're talking about millimeters here again, but let me just catch up with what I have done the last couple of days. Number one being, most of the air system is fully plumbed up. I'm waiting for a couple of fittings so I can, join the connectors together. I've got an extra port that's missing there. All the lines, water trap, everything like that is all connected. The battery is in there. All of this still needs to be tidied up because obviously I've not connected any of it. These rear bags are not even connected. But the reason I wanted to show you this is because, the car, as you can see, is on the floor. And this is the first time it's been this close to the floor. However, it's not finished. But let's go inside. I want to just show you inside. Ooh, full interior. This hasn't been a full interior for months. Now, if you look in here, I'm sat in the passenger seat. Turn the ignition on. Oh yeah, 3, 2, 1. Compressors are kicked in, so it's fully functioning. It's vibrating the entire vehicle. It's like a built-in massage seat now. I know these are not very comfortable to start with, but if we had a sealed tank, we could build some pressure up and build a system. So that's one more step that has been completed. Now, the front is obviously still in the air. You can probably see here we're doing a wheelie, and I haven't done the front yet, but I wanted to do the rear because the rear is the main problem. I am a passenger princess. However, the reason I'm in here is because yesterday I decided to put obviously the entire interior back together, because obviously I've run the new cable through underneath the dash for the airlift management, done all the stuff inside the fuse box, which is just behind me on this parcel shelf. So I put the seats in, plastics, everything back together, fully complete inside. So to my surprise, which is not really my surprise, when I put it on the floor this morning, there's an issue that I did account for, but didn't account for. Behind here, right? Seatbelt. We have this little plastic cover, which can be removed. And this right here is a door card. Now, this door card will call, obviously goes all the way down there underneath the seatbelt. And this panel here has been removed the entire time. So once this panel is removed, this panel has a little bit of a flex in it. Now obviously this is our seat belt. I'm gonna remove this plastic panel and show you behind this. And what we have behind that bit of plastic is a bulge. Now that bulge there is quite important for letting the wheel access the cabin area. So that's like factory recessed. So if you went over a big bump, you have a recess on the plastic so the wheels don't hit the plastic. However, this is probably like 250 mil lower than standard, and after all our geometry changes, etc., that is still in the way for what we need. Now, that bulge is almost flush up against the seatbelt, right? Now, there is a little bit of wiggle room, I know that, but the seatbelt is in a fixed position. However, if I move that over by like 5 mil or 10 mil, drill those bolts just here and drill those bolts just here, we can then move the seatbelt in, and then hopefully we can get a heat gun on here and massage this out ever so slightly so that the wheel tub is bigger and we can basically stretch that area. When I was mocking it up, this plastic was loose, so the wheel would push that out of the way ever so slightly. Now let me go show you how close it actually is. You can see here that radius goes up and around the tire, almost perfect around this tire, even though it's not factory. This is also in the way, this little box. Now I've spoken about this before. This houses the extension lead for the charging lead. If that was, I don't know, up here, it would be much better for everyone, and you could still get the entire cable in there. So if we can shorten this and cut it up and do whatever, that'll make our life a lot easier as well. See how close that is to the inner wheel arch. It actually has a 3mm spacer on. I might put a 5mm spacer on because we need to get new bolts anyway. So if I get longer bolts and a 5mm spacer, it may just clear. There's another problem on top of that. If we put a bigger spacer on, we're gonna hit that body clip. Now that is the main bumper bracket. All of these are like push fits, but this one is the only one that holds it in flush against the body. So if we get rid of that, we've got to try and make it bolt in up here instead. Ideally, if I can get away with not cutting the body and the mounting bracket, that would be great, but obviously this might not be an option. I'll focus on trimming or massaging the inner tub, which is just here, and I'm going to do that with that special tool right there. Everything is as tight as this. The final fit up was definitely probably going to cause problems. I knew it was going to cause problems, but I thought I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. It's only plastic. I can alter it down the line. So that is what I'm going to do today. So yeah, plan of action today is to get that bar flush against the ground. If that's not flush against the ground, then we've failed. You can see that just there is where the tread is. So if we heat this up and push this dent in, mainly this bit here will be solved with a spacer, this edge here, but it's this bit, we just need to push that in ever so slightly, come to about here, and I think that will give us all that we need. So that both sides will be sweet. This thing here, it bolts in there, there's another 2 bolts up the top there, and I think it just pulls out. I'm not too sure, but yeah, this is the little box that's, you know, holding that cable in, and this comes out, and there's the charging point, and yeah, this is a lot of cable, and you can see in there is nothing else, just that. So I think we'll be able to take that out fairly easily. So I'm gonna give it some of this, give it some heat, do some pushing in with this, and hopefully we're winners. So that hasn't gone as well as I'd like it to. Yes, it's moved a lot, but it actually looks awful. Basically, I need to shrink it because we're trying to put too much material into one position, and this bit right here is obviously going to try and squidge up, you know what I'm trying to say? After some gentle massaging, we are aired out flat, and the wheel fits in the arch. So that's one done. But that right there is horrendous. Whatever happens here has to still be as good as the rest of the car. So that is, well, probably the same quality as the rest of the car. But that's horrible. Like, I'm not proud of that at all. But the shape is there. We know what size the wheel arch needs to be now. So what I'm thinking is making a little metal tub which goes in here, and then we cut the excess off of this and we bond it in from the inside. We have a little metal tub in there which is sealed the correct shape and looks a lot nicer, and I'll be happy to let it go. Obviously it's plastic. If it was metal, I'd have obviously cut it out straight away and tubbed it, but because it's plastic, I thought I might be able to massage it out of the way. It hasn't worked as I thought it would, but what are you gonna do? I'm gonna make a little template out of some cardboard, and then we're gonna tub it. Right, got a template. I know it's rough, but it's going to be something like this. I'm just checking to obviously make sure we have clearance inside the car, and we do. So this is going to be right up against the seatbelt mount there. I'm hoping to not have to modify the seatbelt mounting point. We'll see. I'm not quite sure if the seatbelt's going to work correctly if I move it over 5 or 10 mil, because obviously people that know, these seatbelts have to be directly upright and straight. Potential that it basically just does that all the time. If the seatbelt's not in an adequate position, then it will just automatically tension. Yeah, I don't want to move that if I don't have to, but this shape is going to be in here somewhere, and I was just checking. If I'm going to make a tub for this, we need to make 2 of the exact same. So this template needs a reference point to work off of. Now I've got a straight edge here, a straight edge here, and the curve there. So to make sure I get it both in the same point, I've put that on there, and I've done a straight edge all the way down. I've already done it. Now I know that this tub can be cut in on that straight edge there, and there's also a straight edge down the floor here. So we've got a right angle for this to sit in. Leave this excess around here long, because this is all sorts of different shapes. I'll cut it, and then I'll get it closer and closer and closer until we're flush with this panel here, or the seat belt, which is just behind here. And then we know that we can actually recreate the same shape on the other side. Easy as that. Metal shape in here somewhere. I gotta cut this out now. I'll put you on time lapse. And there's a lot of noise going on because the farm is actually in full service today, loading up lorries, so I do apologize, but let's cut this out. So, rough cut, still needs a bit more fettling, but this should just sit in here like that. Now, obviously still need to fettle it. From here you can see it still needs to come in ever so slightly. It's mainly hitting on the top, which is why it's not letting it go flush. But put a return edge on the metal bit and weld that gap up here. We'll be flush against the seatbelt. And while I'm here, I think I might actually re-drill that seatbelt and just see if we can get it in a little bit further so we can, you know, match the contour of this metal frame here. If we can get it flush with that metal frame, then I think our lives might be ever so slightly easier and just give us a little bit more, you know, clearance. Seatbelt out, big hole behind the rear seat. This car is literally a year old and has 633 miles. I've done all sorts of moving stuff around for loads. Like I've even messed with like bonnet hinges and wheel arches, floor pans. Never done a seatbelt. I've never moved a seatbelt in the aim of getting a car low, but it's always a first for everything. $20 mil over. Let's move it over. Seatbelt all bolted in. You can see we got that little bit of extra tub clearance there. Let's see if it works. I'm going to pull the car off the ramp then. trying to do it as quick as I can there. I think it works. I'm putting it quite quick there. It still works. It's not getting latched up. Look at that. You wouldn't get that normally anyway. Here we go. Does this car have a horn? There you go. So, happy with that. It actually works. Seatbelt's moved over and we can add 20mm more extra clearance to our inner barrel. And that way, once we do this, in future you might be able to get that extra bit of wheel on the back as well, because obviously we're very limited to the size because those are only 6.5J. The amount of work in such a little car. Who'd have thought it, eh? Has to lay flat. No one is going to do this again. Making a statement now. I've made a thing. So, metal tub here. As you can see, I've made an edge for it. And basically just welded down that edge all the way around. I gave this a little bit more of a trim, and this sits in here. Something like that. We'll shoehorn it in a bit. There you go. That's like pretty much where it's going to sit. Now obviously I've left it long for a reason. So if we go on the inside, I can draw around it and then we can get a good base of, you know, where it wants to sit. Trim the excess off, and then I can tape it around this edge, and then I'll glue it from the inside. Let that set, and then I'll obviously glue the outside as well. Bit of a weird one because I'm gonna have to paint the tub before it goes in the car. And I'm gonna Gravitex it, that Gravitex that we've been using on all the suspension components and the chassis and stuff. I'm gonna Gravitex it, let that dry, and then go over it in a satin black, because this Gravitex dries like a dark grey. If I go over it in satin black, then Tiger Seal it in, I think it will look sort of similar to the factory door card finish. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And here we have a tub. Now it looks a little bit gappy because it needs trimming on the corners to let it sit in a little bit further, but I just thought I'd draw around it now, trim some of the excess off, and you know, get it closer to what we have. It's pretty much in the right position, nicely against the seat belt. When you push against it, it sits flush round the edges and that gap isn't so big. So there's the excess trimmed there. That looks so weird. This is the weirdest tub I've ever had to make. So obviously, as you can see, we have gained a ton of clearance, and now I can pull it out and finish welding all the way around that edge there, grind it smooth, make a template of this on there once it's all rounded, and then the other side should be fairly straightforward. That mini tub there, weld on the inside, and then the bit on the outside, which is technically the inside, is all nice and smooth. So gonna give this a coat of Gravitex, let that dry overnight, satin black over the top, bond it in. And while this is drying, I'm gonna make a matching pair for the other side. Right, that's just dried with Gravitex, and I've given it a couple of coats of satin black now. Managed to do a stencil of it so we can do the passenger side. This slide is ever so slightly different, but the same thing applies. If we drop that down to there, it just clears our door mechanism, because obviously this is a normal door and the other side is a suicide door. So that right there is the latch, and we just clear that and it goes underneath it. So luckily for us, that clears. Passenger side done, just testing the seat out because it's very close to the seatbelt buckle, this one, as you can see there. It bolts into the seat very close, but you know, we're snug. Different shape on this one, but works the same. So I'm gonna finish welding that now, get that painted, and then hopefully bond it before I go home this evening. Right, they're drying out there in the now darkness because it's got really dark, and I am in here masking up the outer edge of where we're going to do the bonding. So I've done some nice masking all the way around, and then basically I can bond it in, get my finger on it just like Mr. RWB, and then we'll have an RWB Citroen Ami. So, tubs are in. I've decided to tape them in. No, I'm joking. I've put that aluminium foil tape in there to hold it in because, you know, it's pretty good with the structural rigidity. And when I'm putting my finger on it and, you know, moving the sealant around, I want to be able to just, you know, put a little bit of pressure on it. But as you can see there, that is in there, painted, then satin black over the top. It almost gives a similar finish to the plastic, which I'm really happy about. Same again on that side. It is a little bit darker, but what you're gonna do, pretty pleased with that. Pretty pleased with that. I left the inners bare metal for now because I am gonna seal it afterwards. Once the inside's all bonded and sealed up, I'll pull the tape off, seal the outside, spray the whole of that panel with Gravitex again, blend it into the plastic around it, and it should look all uniform-ish if we do it correctly. But yeah, I'm gonna seal it up now. I am using PU sealer, basically Tiger Seal. Does its job. Thick, good at bonding, good at filling gaps. Job's a good one. Let's go. Master, bond that in. Let's go. I'll join you when I'm not covered in sealant and I've pulled this tape off. Right, next day, let's have a look. I'm happy with the result. 1, 2. I think that looks very good, considering, you know, what it is. Bonded in nicely. It actually nearly matches, like, the texture from this to that. It's quite nice. I like it a lot. Now, if we put the seat all the way back, see, it's just there, so it's inside but it's not in the way. So yeah, I'm super pleased with that. It's a lot tighter on this side because obviously this seat is, you know, a bit further back and in a fixed position, but it's going to be snug down here. That seat should just go straight past it. So yeah, what do you reckon to that? Let me know what you think about that in the comments, because I'm more than impressed. I didn't think I'd have to do this to the Ami, but here we are. Tubbing. Pretty weird to work with plastic for once and not metal. Obviously this is metal, but this is plastic. Usually I'd have welded it in and stuff. So yeah, hopefully that stays connected and nobody leans on it. I don't think it's going to come out. I have bonded it from the inside as well. Outside, should I say? Inside, outside? So yeah, bonded it from this side, literally went all down that seam and around that seam, and then I just thought, you know what, I'll just coat the whole thing in seam sealer. So yeah, that is bonded in that side, and of course the same for that side. I'll stick this interior back in and then I'll show you the finished result. Look at this. This is probably the best thing I've done on this car, in my opinion. I think it's so good. Everything's all fitted up, seat belts all work, seats are in. Obviously this one is a lot further back, and this is a fixed position that slides, and yeah, that tub fits nice and snug down there. See, it's very close to the seat edge there, snug on the seat belt, but obviously that does in fact work. Yeah, really happy. And obviously you got that one there all buttoned up together. Man, I'm really happy with that. Really happy. So good. Also, forgot to add, I have fitted a inflation valve just here inside of the fuse box area, because basically you can fill the tank up with that port just there if the compressors both pack up at the same time, God forbid. If we had the rear bumper on, we wouldn't be able to fill the tank up, so you can fill that up with like your normal tyre inflation pump, and yeah, that's just under there. Thought that was quite neat. Filling up the tank right now with its actual battery. I just wanted to see if it's going to drain it halfway through. Seems like it's doing all right for now. We'll see what we get to. Well, it's finished to full fill. We've got the rear bags pumped up, 150 psi in the tank. Means there's only one more thing to sort out, and it's the charging cable box. So I'm going to obviously let the air out of this bag here, get the wheel on, go up and down, and we'll see what we need to trim with our cable box. First bit trimmed. Luckily, we can just put this in the car because this is what it bolts onto. These are then bolted together all the way around, so we can bolt this back together, and obviously we can trim this excess to match this piece, and then obviously it's a lot easier to mount and put in there. So let's see if this works. We are trimmed up, so I just need to match this bracket here to the bracket on the bench, and we're good to go. This is in the aired out position. It's snug. This is without the spacer now, so we have clearance to the bag, we have clearance in the wheel tub, we have clearance to the electrical box. That is a 15 by 6.5J. Oh, this is funny. And that is glued in there. Now I'm gonna let that dry. Obviously we've got the trusty broom here helping us out, making sure it's gonna stay in position. That is the last thing that's going to stop this car laying flat on the ground. I've already tested the clearance, and obviously the wheel goes up far enough to let the spirit level, you know, tell us the road, and it was flush with the bottom of the sill. So chuff with that. That is going to go as low as I need. Right, so the AMI is finally on the floor under its own weight for the very, very first time. It's got air in the bags, it's at its full height, which, to be fair, isn't very high. But I'm going to have it on the floor for the first time. I don't think that rear bar is going to actually sit on the floor just because of the position it is in. It's going to be very close, but, you know, we'll see. Let's have a go. It's close, but not that close. So there you go, the rear is finally done. I think I'm going to put 5mm spacers on the back, order a set of new wheel bolts, and that will be the final position of the wheels and the drop and all of that. I've just noticed here, the battery is basically on the floor. That's the little battery that like powers all the lights and etc., not the motor. But yeah, next on the agenda is to get the front on the floor and laying flat. There is a couple of things I do need to do, which I did just remember. There's a few things to do, so I'll do another final video of the front and then one video of the reveal of the car. But this video has been a bit of a talkative session, unexpected, but we got it done in the end. And I'm going to edit this tonight so we can get it up tomorrow. So thank you all for joining in. It is very close now. I said it in the last one, but a lot of people seem to be interested in a car which they're never gonna have or own. So I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. See you later.